So welcome, Kathleen. I'm going to let you take it away.
Very big screen. It's the first time I've used screen. I've been in here when we've had screen going and we've had press conferences and stuff, but it's a very different experience. I'm sure you can see it at home. Anyway, thank you for tonight and welcome to this as one of our, what I consider to be touch points in doing as families around the assessment and reporting processes that we will use to talk to you about training in technology. From my point of view, these first few weeks have been very hectic and they've gone really quickly, but it's been really the orientation process in the first 2 weeks, where everybody came together and had a chance to connect as cohorts in their industry training programs, but also to connect with staff, but also for our whole staff to connect, because they were the first few weeks that everybody was here together. So that's, I think, from my perspective as the site leader, that's been a really positive experience. It's certainly the feedback that I've had from your kids, it's been that they've enjoyed their time so far. Now we're 1.5 weeks into everybody's industry training programs, which is also really exciting. We've got first work placements underway, we've got first exposures to RTOs and actual training packages. So we're off and running as we intend to, so I'm really pleased about that. For anyone is anyone here on the, apart from students, here for the opening the first morning, which was a pretty full-on experience, probably one of the most intense experiences of my 30-year career, so it opened that way. We had a very similar experience this morning, which you may or may not have seen on the media today, where we had the Deputy Prime Minister here, who's also the Minister of Defence. We had the Premier back, we had the Education Minister here, we had our local federal member, Mark Buckley, here, so it was a cast of thousands, and I think half the name is here.
Yes, for sure.
And they were obviously here to talk about the shipbuilding program that was announced yesterday and what that means. And they were obviously, we were posting that as one of the first points of call for BAE systems in terms of their recruitment process. So that was a really exciting moment today. And we're in advanced manufacturing program. Some of you may have ended up being the star of those shows when you were talking to guests or being filmed by the television crew. So we've had a few big moments in some, but the good thing is that it hasn't interrupted, day-to-day business. It's just not what they were doing. So I'm really, really super pleased and proud of everybody in their efforts to do that. For me, I'm going to welcome. I'm just going to change these around, and I want to talk to you about effectiveness and why I think that is so important. This is still a school, regardless of the program that your child is in. They're still a school age, and it's still really important that we communicate fully with you about what is happening for them at this stage in their development and this stage of their education journey. So the connection that you would get from your normal schooling experience to me is still paramount in this setting. We will talk to the kids more about what they're doing in different ways and perhaps what they're used to. But it's really important to me that you are still kept up to date with that information and feel that you can contact us at any point. This is not a drop and run hands-on partnership. This is, we want you involved in this as much as possible, because this is a big shift in educational practice, and we want to make sure that we're getting it right with your young person. We want them to be prepared for all the steps along the way in this program. And that includes challenging them around certain parts of the program where they're going to use their initiative and be a little bit more independent than maybe they've experienced in the past. So that connection between the team here at the college, myself as principal and you as founders is incredibly important to us. So this is the first of those hopeful ongoing connections that will happen. The last bit I'm going to mention, then I'm going to go to the team, which is going to hear a lot from me, is around governance. We have one spot remaining on the Governing Council of Women High School, which obviously is also the Governing Council College. So if there are any parents who have ever thought about school governance, or like to have thought about school governance, there is an opportunity for you to engage and be involved in some of the decision making that goes on, and to influence this program in its infancy as it grows over the next few years. So if you're interested in that, give me a call here at school. We can have a chat about it. We only meet twice a term, and it is generally a painless experience. I don't ask the members of the council to do terribly much, except to have conversations with me about what's happening with you and your students. Because your voice is so important in the success of whatever our school community does. So if you'd like to join us in your school, we do have a couple of parents from the Tech College who have joined council, or one new parent who's joined council, but there's also an existing member who happens to be a chair on the council and has student in both programs. So it is a really good place of connection for us. That's it for me. Thank you very much for coming. Just letting the screen before we give a quick dose out of the 27 degrees we have spot today. We're hopefully going to take you through a quick session now and then send you off to that support people working every day with your kids and so thanks very much for coming. I'll hand back to you.
Thank you. I'll put my little toy back on for fun, even though my voice tends to carry very well. So, just as a starting point this evening, I'd just like to introduce you to the main members of the team who are here with us tonight, and we'll be talking to you after this about each of the individual industry training programs, or ITPs as we call them. We have Tash Farrier standing over there, early childhood education and care, Tara Buderick, health and social support, and Joel Phillips, advanced manufacturing and engineering. So once I've finished presenting to you, they will take you off to their spaces, and so you can have another look at the spaces now they're all up and in action. And they'll talk to you a little bit about the respective ITPs and where the students currently are and where we're working to get them toward. The main aim for this evening, obviously with Stace, is to get everybody to a point where you feel comfortable about what this looks like for your young person. Stace completion doesn't change no matter where you are. So just because you're at Finnan Technical College doesn't mean Stace completion is any different. It just means the pathway that we take and the way that we get there will look a bit different for every single student who is here. These are individualised programs that exist within each ITP. So the Stace has 50 credits that are compulsory that all students have to do, and I'll talk a little bit about those. You can do traditional Stace subjects, and we do have a traditional Stace subject on our offering, on our scope that students in year 11 and 12 will engage with. Clearly, we have vocational education and training, or VET. That's the courses that students do 1 or 2 days a week. We have something called recognised community learning, which might be new for some of you. That's a recognition process that students actually lead themselves through, and then through a presentation and interview process, they can be awarded Stace credits by the school to help build that 200 credits. There's also so that was self-directed. The recognised community learning is other things like, if your young person does certificates outside of school, so life saving is a really good example, music's a really good example where they might actually do exams and lessons. If that's something they do outside of school, we can acknowledge that within the Stace. And then we do things that are other recognised studies. So for most of our students this year, that won't be something, but leading into next year, if your student is thinking about university and would like to do some extension studies through our university partners, that's where this other recognised learning piece comes in, which in courses with universities, extension studies with universities for students to be able to extend themselves and make sure they're fully prepared for where they would like to go. So it breaks down a little bit like this. That's going to be a bit annoying, keeping on popping up. The SAFEs will break down a little bit like this. You have right over there, we have some compulsories, stage 1 and stage 2 numeracy, stage 1 or stage 2 literacy. That component for Finland Technical College is wrapped up in what we call FSK, Foundational Skills and Knowledge. That's a Certificate 2 course, and the students will complete that and demonstrate their literacy and numeracy for industry through their ITPs. And we're actually piloting this program at the moment with the SAFEs board, with Finland, with the department, so that students can be recognised for their literacy and numeracy being at that relevant stage. So unlike in a more contemporary, I was going to say that's not what I mean, comprehensive high school, where you might be doing maths methods, essential maths, depending on your level, or English or essential English, depending on your level. We are doing FSK. So we don't walk in and out of classes, it's a built-in part of a certificate. The PLP that's on this here, we are now doing the new iteration of that called EIF, Exploring Identities and Futures. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And what is the research project up the top? We will be doing the new iteration of that, which is called AIF, Activating for Identities and Futures. The rest of this massive pie can be taken up with stage 1 and stage 2 credits, and it needs to add up to a total of 200 credits. So 60 of those need to be at what we call stage 2 or year 12 level, and the remainder can be at stage 1 level or at stage 2 level, depending on the student's needs. So it's all going to be individualised to your student. I'll explain that a little bit more. So here's how it works for building our credits through the SAFEs. So every student across the state will get those 50 credits for literacy, numeracy, EIF, and AIF. All of our students will do the same. And most have started EIF if they're in year 10 already this year. For those students in year 11, AIF will be in second semester after the literacy and numeracy. The students then get to select 90 credits here and 60 credits here. As I said, the 90 can be stage 1 or stage 2, year 11 or 12. The 60 will have to be at stage 2, which is year 12 level. And it depends on the industry training program, and it depends on the student how that plays out. So here, each ITP, they're going to build credits through a mix of contextualised SAFE subjects, particularly one called Industry Connections, depth, and self-directed community learning. So as I said, the compulsory subjects will be made up of EIF, AIF, our literacy and our numeracy components. So EIF is really the beginning of the SAFE journey for students. It provides an opportunity for students in their ITP to explore what that looks like and what it means to them in greater detail. We know that health and social support isn't a job. You don't go into that job, you go into one of 100 jobs that might exist, or 200 jobs that might exist in health and social support. Early education, early childhood education and care isn't just one job. There's a myriad of jobs that exist within that industry. Engineering and advanced manufacturing equally has so many different jobs available to it that students, through exploring identities and futures, can start to actually drill down into, well, which component of my ITP do I really want to be looking at? Is it a trade base? Is it a work base? Is it a university base? But then, is it technical? Is it hands-on? Is it working with people? Is it working with administration? They get to really drill into these ideas. So through all of this, the students have agency over what they choose and how they choose to explore that, and then how they choose to present it to us. It really does encourage those connections with people and connections with workplaces outside of technical college. And that's why the work experience component is such an important part of what we do. And it's working also to build skills and capabilities for life and work. And what I'll talk to later is the career portal that all students have access to with their e-portfolio, where they can actually start through this, building a portfolio of evidence of their employability skills, their work skills, and the skills that they're developing over time for work and life. AIF takes place, as I said, in the second semester of year 11 and allows students to really delve further into what this means to them and actually start making plans. So where could this take me and how am I going to get there? So it's again self-directed inquiry. They are responsible for their learning journey through the subject, obviously guided by their teachers and their trainers and mentors. And they explore the strengths, they explore areas for growth. The student career portal will help them to do that, help them to keep track of where they are with all of this work. And then at the end, they share and they reflect on their personal development over time. It doesn't matter if ideas change. It doesn't matter if the direction changes a little bit. What does matter is that the students have the capacity to make that change, to articulate it, and to actually make a plan of attack so that they know they can still get there. A big part of our learning here, obviously, is that vocational education and training. And when we talk about what's the thing that sets you aside, I think that and the way that it's delivered here does set us apart from other schools. What you might know coming from other sites is that students wanting to do a vet course, unless that one specific course was offered at the school, your child might have had to have gone to another school for a day a week or an RTO outside of schools for a day a week or 2 days a week and miss those days of school. Your school might have said, I will drop you out of one subject to help you make up that time. But at the end of the day, if you do miss a single lesson of English or a double of maths or some science here, you have to make that up in your time and that's your responsibility. The beauty of being at a technical college is all of the vet training is wrapped up within our ICPs already. They don't miss anything on their vet days because the vet day is what we're programmed for. So students doing engineering, health, or actually 2 courses in health, health or individual support or early childhood education and care, on the days that their course takes place, they're in the building doing the course, and that's what they're working towards for that whole day. They're not missing any other learning. So vet is vocational education and training, and it's within what we call the AQF, the Australian Qualifications Framework, and that's really important because what it means is that at the end of that training, your child walks out with a certificate 2 or a certificate 3, they can take that certificate anywhere in Australia and know that they are fully qualified and that that qualification will be recognised. That's the beauty of all of that. You might have had to have also gone through the joy of getting a USI number. Annoying process, really helpful number, because if you ever lose a copy of any of your qualifications or you forget what you've got, have I done my white card, have I done my first aid, you can log on to your USI and it will tell you all of the training that you've done and what was completed. VET is recognised in the SACE for fully completed qualifications, which we hope all our students do, partially completed, or skill sets. I'll talk a little bit more about skill sets because they'll be particularly relevant for mainly students in advanced manufacturing and engineering who might want to continue with some VET training in Year 12. Because it's a certificate 2, it only contributes to that stage 1 component. There will be, on offer, some skill sets in components of engineering in Year 12 for students to be able to access. So here at Findon, we have the 3 or 4 qualifications that our students will be doing. Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering is a certificate 2 course and it attracts 50 of those stage 1 credits. So you can remember they needed 90 at stage 1, well 50 of them are already wrapped up inside this engineering. Health and social support, our students are doing 2 certificates. As you can see there, individual support and allied health assistance. That's going to make up over 140 of the 200 SACE credits that they need to complete the SACE. So when you pair that with the 50 compulsory credits of FSK, EIF and OIF, you're nearly done. But what we will be doing through all the other components of our ICP, adding value to that. The work experience will add value, the industry connections will add value. The work experience placements will not only add value, but will give them a taste of industry, of work, and the possibility of traineeship in the future. And similarly, early childhood education and care attracts a lot of SACE credit, 155 stage 2 credits. But again, it's through the whole ICP that the student will build their skills and capacity to enhance the learning that they have there. Recognised learning, particularly self-directed community learning, will make up a number of the credits for each student as well. This takes place through workplace learning in Year 10 and Year 11. So students going out into the workplace, keeping a diary. We have an online diary software platform that we're working through with students. We're getting it onto computers now, Diarian. And at the end of each day, they'll be able to log on, they'll be able to reflect on what they learned through the day. The reflection can be typed, it can be pictures, it can be audio. There's a whole range of ways that they can access that. Once they're done, their 10 weeks or their 50 hours of work placement, they'll actually be able to come and interview with one of their teachers or trainers or mentors, myself, and we can say, hey, we think you've done 10 credits worth of work in work experience or in self-development. It could be in volunteering or a range of other places. Credits can be at stage 1 or stage 2, depending on the level of the student's involvement and interaction, and they're awarded by us here at the school. So it's a process that we are. We can award credits along any of these. There's actually 9, but the ones that apply specifically to the technical college are community development. So if your young person wants to go and involve themselves in a community project, there's performance, say performance in the workplace or an industry, self-development, so that's that self-improvement, building my work skills, building my employability skills, volunteering, and then career development and how they're working through all of these things. The one traditional SAY subject that we offer is a brand new SAY subject. It's a really exciting one, and it's called Industry Connections. And the great thing about it is that we can package it up and students could technically get all 60 of their stage 2 credits doing Industry Connections. What Industry Connections does, it provides students with an interest in an industry area to apply skills, knowledge and understanding about that industry while actually doing their performance. So you can see how this ties in perfectly to each of our ITPs. What do? They do 4 skills tasks. So if you've been in the workshop and you've been learning how to do a particular task with Joel on the plasma cutter, and you want to make a video that explains how to use the plasma cutter properly from start to finish, and then you'd like to annotate that video with some examples, that's one of your skill tasks done. Didn't need an essay, didn't need a long written report. It's about the student demonstrating competency and skill. So 4 skills tasks, an industry project. So maybe you go out on the work placement, you're working with BAE for your week or something like that, and they'll say, we want you to work on this component. And that will become the student's industry projects. And then finally, a reflection on their learning and skill development. And once again, that reflection doesn't have to be a report, doesn't have to be an essay. It could be, if that's how you like to reflect on things. It could be done through diarying, which is a word I'm never going to say correctly. It could be done as a one-to-one interview. Students could record it over a PowerPoint presentation. What's important is that the student uses the method and the mode of delivery that suits them. But we support them through that. So you can see that the whole subject of industry connections is already wrapped up in the work that we're doing. So this is just about collecting evidence and collation evidence. So every student's SACE planner, every student's journey through SACE will look different. I'll give you a couple of examples. So for example, here I've got a young student who's done EIF, their FSK, up in the compulsory section there, AIF. But up here they've split it to an engineering. They did some self-directed community learning in terms of work, in terms of self-development, and we can see how that's building some credits over here. Moving into year 12, they've done industry connections, but then a school-based apprenticeship has popped up. And so they've taken that. They've only got 20 credits for it in the finishing of that year. Then in the transition out of school, they will complete that Certificate 3 trade-based training. And so that's one way of a student working through their SACE. Now, a school-based traineeship or apprenticeship can happen anytime from year 10 right through to year 12. A school-based traineeship or an apprenticeship for a year 10 might be 3 days a week to 4 days a week. It's a bit of a maximum. For a year 11, it might be 4, depending on this contribution up here to the compulsories. But a year 12 student could technically be doing a school-based apprenticeship 5 days a week, working full-time, and still having the benefit of the check-in with their mentor, with their trainer, with their teachers when they need it. That ongoing support from the school, knowing that in the year they leave school, they get another year of support as well. So almost 2 years of inbuilt ongoing support for a potential school-based apprentice there. Another student here, I've kind of doubled up my streams a little bit, but they've done their compulsories in the same way. You can see here then they've done their Certificate 3 in Early Childhood Education and Care. Some of it's gone into stage, this 90 credit block of stage 1 or stage 2. Some of it's up in stage 2 because it's a Certificate 3, it's year 12 level. They've done industry connections, but then they've chosen to do a bridging course for university for a semester and got 20 credits for that too, or 10 credits for that, depending on what they need. So you can see that two completely different students, all both in the same school, doing very different programs of work that are designed to meet their needs, as opposed to the needs of the school and balancing that out. These are in the books that you would have received a number of times, but they're just outlining from 10 to 12 what the pathway through SAFE can look like. So I won't go back into those. Probably seen it. Coaching and mentoring. It did begin during orientation week, and what we started with the coaching and mentoring was asking each student to delve into the career portal and to log in there and actually start developing a bit of a career action plan. Where am I now and where would I like to be? And like any school, some students are further along that little journey through that than others. But we will use that piece ongoing with our coaching and mentoring to actually ask students, well, where are you? How are you travelling with this? What support can we be providing to you to get to that next step? That support might be helping with work experience. It might be helping with connections to other people. It might be help overcoming some barriers. And I'm struggling with my learning here, or I'm struggling with aspects of my own health that I need some support with over time, and the school can provide some support around that too. But our main focus for Tier 1 is supporting the students to really develop and start to flesh out that career action plan. So in terms of the career portal that every student has access to, this is every student in the state. It's a jumping off point for our coaching conversations that allows them to delve into careers, into opportunities, and to start developing a portfolio of their skills. So when a student logs on, this is what they'll see. And you can see there's things like course search. So they can actually search for courses that they could be doing when they finish here at the technical college and look at what do I need to do to get to that course? What level is that course at? Do I need a trade qualification? Do I need to go to TAFE? Do I need to go to university? Can I walk out with this qualification and go to work? You can see also that there's some career journeys where they'll do things like work trial and getting ready for work experience. And there's a career portfolio there. So there's a whole range of things that students can access. I certainly strongly recommend parents sit down with the young people and have a bit of a look at this. As I said, what we've asked young people to start looking at here is their career action plan in the first instance. So over on the side there, you can see all the things that they're asked to fill in on this. One of the things we start to look at is their work skills. What are my employability skills that I have and what am I needing to develop? So what I talked about this with a few different groups, and I said, well, maybe for teamwork, the example you've got at the moment is your teamwork because you play a sport or you're in a band or you're in a youth group. So you know that you can work in a team. You can provide me an example of that. Maybe it's not yet contextualised for work. But let's put it in. Let's see how many of these skills you've got. And then over time, because the career portal is a process of continuing to go back and review and refine, once they've got an example from their ITP or from their actual coursework or from work experience, they might replace this bit with something that's more contextualised to work. So we'll keep building on it. It's an iterative process. Students also have been asked to set themselves some goals. There's career goals, there's education goals, and there's life professional goals. We tried to make them SMART goals as well, which means, they're goals that actually have a bit of a time frame to them and they're achievable. They're not too far out. I want to have 3 kids and own my own business when I'm 47, for example. It's a little bit too far off into the future. So we try and make them ones that can be achieved in that shorter period of time and making them realistic as well. And what might some barriers be? What are the things that are holding you back? What do you feel are the things holding you back from getting to where you need to be? And who can support you move past that? So how can we help? Within that career portal, though, there's a whole lot of other things that students can do. They can run a career investigator, so they can actually get a whole bunch of careers lined up in there. They can look at them all, they can compare them, they can find out, well, what are the skills that are common across all of these jobs? High level of maths, or is it teamwork, or is it interpersonal skills that are across all of these? And start to think about, well, these are the ones I need to work on. They can make their career plan, they can make a personal statement, they can make a resume and a cover letter on here. And the good thing about them is that they're nicely set out and they actually get some support to put it into context. We've also suggested to students that they start to develop this e-portfolio. We have the capacity here for students, if you look behind you, we've got these cool things called potties. They can sit in those and they can record studio quality audio. They can attach that to different things. They can upload a reflection from a work experience from their potty. They can upload it into their e-portfolio. They can upload PDFs and certificates, photos of them doing work or artwork. And then onto a resume, you can put the link to your e-portfolio and say, here's me. Probably a written resume, and you list all your skills, and you write all the big skills that you've got. Can't prove it, but if you can put a link to your e-portfolio that proves all those skills sit there, that's just another string in the bow. And finally, for me tonight is just a piece around DANAP. So some parents are coming from schools that use DANAP, some are coming from schools that might have used other learning management platforms, but we use DANAP here at Findon. It helps you as a parent or caregiver to follow your child's progress at school, including things like their attendance, their learning, their assessments, and reporting over time. You will all have a login to the parent portal on DANAP. So on the parent portal, it can be accessed through the Findon High School website. So if you just Google Findon High School, on the drop-down menus at the top, there's one that says School Apps, and it'll be the DANAP parent portal. You'll just need to click on Findon Technical College, because our DANAP is slightly different from the Findon High School ones. What we're going to do to make sure it's an easier process to get everyone online is that on Thursday night, so ready for Friday morning, we'll do a hard reset of everyone's current password that's in the system, and you'll receive a text message the next morning with a link to update your password, and then you'll have full access to the Findon Technical College DANAP. So just make sure when you get that text, you take your user ID. DANAP is great as well for attendance, and we certainly are encouraging you as parents or caregivers to log attendance through DANAP. It's the easiest way to do it. So what you can do is when you're on DANAP, you can report your student absence by clicking on, tapping their name. It's just below their profile, and then you can just click absence notification. The good thing about doing it through here is you can actually click the reason for the absence, family, illness, etc. If you send a text message through the text line, which you can do, so certainly encourage you all to write down this number. That's the text line. If you send it to that, we manually input the reason for the absence. However, if you can just do it yourself on DANAP, you don't have to write a text message, just go quickly and you're done. So we certainly encourage those two as our main modes of contact for absences from the school.